Hello, this is Kendrick Lamar, and this color is green. That's Nazism. That's Justin Trudeau. And this is an independent Russian journalist.
Rusня, 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 Volodymyr Zelensky, das ist und nazistischen Schweine.
For the last 300 years, it has been difficult to call Russian media workers journalists. They steadily and confidently slipped into the derangement, and that's kinda the only stable thing Russians have. However, nowadays we're observing the northern lights in the sky of Russian insanity because of the thirst for Ukrainian blood.
And why wouldn't we arrange a small local gulag in Zaporizhia? A neat one for teachers who have not yet learned to love our motherland.
These are not the words of a local idiot. It was a respected Russian journalist. The spiral of Russian propaganda is twisting more and more. The unhinged delirium bores through the time-space continuum of human adequacy, and from the created gap, an endless barrage of tantrums, accusations, convulsions, slander, and suicidal threats pours down on us. Here are the words of Margarita Simonyan. Margarita is famous for her sharp takes, but also for being one of the highest-ranking Russian propagandists. She's the head of the state channel Russia Today, and generally one of the main people in Russian media.
I just don't want to live in such humanity. It's better to go to heaven right away, as Putin told us that we're going to heaven and they will simply die.
Just when you're starting to think you've pretty much figured out what the Russians are trying to tell you, you're hit with a new, unexpected stream of outright dyslexia. Here's another journalist and one of the main people in Russian propaganda machine, and the talk show host on Russian state TV.
Nazism in its modern form, which to a large extent was aimed at the extermination of Jews, Roma, homosexuals, and the mentally ill, has become completely entwined with ultra-liberalism and adopted the signs of liberal fascism, liberal nationalism, when in the first ranks of the fighters for national ideas are who deny the very essence of humanity.
So, before, Nazis hated gays, and now gays are also Nazis. So Russians, like Nazis, hate gays, who are also Nazis. So Russians are also Nazis, but for the sake of fighting Nazism. Clear Russian propaganda is an irrigation system of the Russian consciousness, bringing the nourishing streams of imperialism to the dry potato of the Russian soul. Russian propaganda is an internal voice of the Russian government that breaks out. Everything that Putin is ashamed to say, his state propaganda says. Together, it constitutes the general Russian context in which simple Russians live. Those Russians, of course, have absolutely no influence and are not guilty of anything. They just turn on the Russian TV every night to listen to the long-awaited news about the opening of a new gulag, as if it were some kind of a hip co-working space with concrete walls and good coffee.
Are they waiting for gulag? Well, give them the gulag.
Some Russians at this point are drinking their 100 grams of vodka and peacefully falling asleep, watching vivid black and white dreams about the total annihilation of the Ukrainians. Other Russians switch the channel further because they are used to watching their dreams on Russian TV.
Ukraine as a state should not exist in principle. We don't need Europe. It can be cut off already, starting with the Baltic countries, for instance.
That was a fucking dean in a Moscow State University. A dean. Moscow State University. This is like Russian Harvard, for God's sake. Anyway, Russians lied about their power for so long that the propagandists themselves became the main victim of their propaganda. In the 9th month of their failed war, they continued to act out of inertia as a great invincible sea monster which is able to take over the whole world with one twist of its tail. But in practice, the monster turns out to be a perch washed ashore by a storm, and the only thing it captures is the burning air with its small gills, slippery because of tears.
Today we train to destroy the United States of America and once Great Britain, right? You're absolutely right.
Of course, the distance between the bloodthirsty desires of Russians and their terrorist capabilities is mesmerizing, like the mesmerizing chasm of Grand Canyon. Yes, Russians kill, rape, destroy and carry evil. You cannot take this from them. Yet. But they are not capable of destroying Ukraine, Ukrainians, destroying Europe, America and the whole world. Russians produce content that seems crazy to normal people, but Russians are not crazy but quite conscious of their desire of violence. What they really want is to kill everyone, it's just that they can't. And from this inconsistency grows a huge worm of propagandistic insanity.
Last night, Ramzan Kadyrov wrote, "This is jihad. This is jihad. this is a holy war. And he's right.
That's right. The Jewish TV host declares a Muslim holy war of Orthodox Russia against the satanic United States on the territory of surprised Ukraine.
Wants to tell me, a Jew who practices Judaism, this Satan is American, British and European, not their people, but their satanic governments.
Fuck.
Russians absolutely seriously believe that they can decide the destinies of entire states and peoples, influence tens of millions of people by the very fact of Russia's existence. That's why friendship with Russia, personal contacts between Putin and Erdogan, are all the advantages that will ultimately make the Turkish voter choose Erdogan. We still haven't chosen our new candidate for the 2024 presidential election in the United States.
When in the course of sick discussions, dreams about possibilities of Russia's political influence dissipate, a syringe with a new drug enters the veins of the propaganda delusion: mass murders.
We will defeat everyone, kill everyone, rob everyone. Everything will be as we like. So whoever will be with us will be fine. And the rest we will kill.
In general, threats to kill everyone are very serious because they are voiced not only by the former president of the Russian Jewish Congress, Satanovsky, on the Russian state TV channel, but also by a person who once worked as Santa Claus at children's parties and now works for the Satanovsky for Russian propaganda.
If you don't want us to convince you, we will kill you. We will kill as much as necessary. We can kill 1 million, 5 millions. We could exterminate everyone.
But the only thing Russians know how to do better than killing is dying. This is evidenced by their losses in the war. Because of Putin's difficulties in reaching Kyiv in 3 days and capturing all of Ukraine in a week, Russians are trying to harass Ukrainians remotely by destroying civil infrastructure.
I am absolutely sure that Ukraine should freeze this winter. You have to hit, and hit. Not immediately, but constantly, from 2 to 5 weeks, in order to completely destroy the entire infrastructure.
Russians destroy Ukrainian energy system not only in words, but also in practice. It is painful and uncomfortable. But this is not enough for the propagandists, so from specific threats, they again fall into the delirium of annihilation of the entire Ukrainian urban landscape.
Warn civilians and say, after 24 hours or 84 hours, we will start to destroy quarter by quarter. Mykolaiv! So destroy Mykolaiv! All civilians to get out of Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Odessa. 3 days. If it's not done, we'll tear it down block by block.
Yes, Russia is so all-powerful, invincible and terrible that it is forced to resort to terrorizing civilians by destroying infrastructure and residential areas. This is exactly how superpowers behave, superpowers like ISIS or Al-Qaeda.
I don't care what it's called, the beautiful Arabic word Shahid or the beautiful Russian word Geran. I just wanted to fly and fall on the heads of Ukrainians.
When Ukrainian cities continue to stand, Russian terrorist state propaganda again takes on smaller targets and begins to call for the destruction of cultural monuments, as the real ISIS does.
All the monuments that have been installed since 1991, which were related to the independence of Ukraine and its new revoked history, must be completely destroyed.
Does civilized world make concessions to appease ISIS? No, they don't. They don't negotiate with terrorists, but destroy them. And this is exactly what we should do with Russia. This is exactly what the Russians are afraid of. And this is why, while the Russian army is stalled, Russian propaganda continues to move forward. And for mass destruction, they choose opponents more suitable in terms of strength. Children.
Here, just drown these children, just drown them in the river, just put them into a wooden house and burn it.
These are absolutely inhumane comments of the director of broadcasting of the Russian state TV channel Russia Today. A couple of years ago, he was a so-called good Russian, that is, an oppositioner, liberal and a representative of the creative class. It was thanks to his creativity that he was able to surpass the rank-and-file Russian maniacs in a delusional bloodthirstiness.
All hope for hunger. What is meant by that? It means that now the famine will begin and that they will come to their senses and will lift the sanctions and will generally be friends with us, because they will realize that it is impossible not to be friends with us.
Changing governments, destroying continents, drowning children, causing famine, even when you simply list the public statements of Russian state propagandists, it seems that this is some kind of a game where some of this has been made up and you have to guess what it is. But All of these are real delusions of Russian propagandists on the official broadcast. They simply take and directly threaten to kill not only all Ukrainian children, but also Ukrainian monuments, buildings, and everything Ukrainian. They go further and are already killing, well, for example, all of Germans.
I want to say to this Nazi, and I don't care, I want to say, bitch, we'll come and kill you all.
Yes, Russians will come to Europe and kill everyone there, but only if they are given visas to the EU, because if there are no visas they will not come and kill, but will continue to whine about Russophobia on social media. Somewhere in the depths of their damn souls, Russians understand that their tantrums are empty, and the evil they carry is hopeless. At this point they begin to say the correct words, that they will understand backwards.
This is a war of civilizations. This is a war of life and death. This is a war between good and evil.
And good will definitely win in this war, while Russia will lose. By the way, we shoot these videos for donations. Hundreds of thousands of our Ukrainian subscribers asked to make videos in English for the international audience so that the world would listen to Ukrainians about Ukraine and about Russia. So we are fulfilling the order, and in turn, we ask you to support us with likes, reposts, and donations, which can be made on a bunch of platforms. You can subscribe to our Patreon, or you can donate to our PayPal, or you can donate directly to the Ukrainian bank. All links will be in the description below.